Hello, everyone. It's Lindsay Landry, and we are here with the Make a Splash Summer Bash series. And today I have a special guest, Eliza Stevens. And she is amazing. I met her about a year or year and a half ago through something I was doing with my business. And we really connected, and I've been following her and watching what she's doing. And she has this magnetic energy about her. So when you see her, it's like you can feel her love, you can feel her compassion, you can feel the energy radiating off of her. And it inspired me. It inspired me to invite her to have this conversation with her and to invite her to be a guest on the Make a Splash Summer Bash series. So welcome to being here with us, and thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so sweet, Lindsay. Love it.
So do you want to tell everyone just a little bit more about what you do, and we can also talk a little bit about how you've gotten here to where you are?
Sure. So what I do essentially is live life as ceremony. And how that shows up for me is I am a priestess, owner, operator of Mermaid Temple of the Womb, and also Rise and Shine Love, which is a plant alchemy, shamanic herbalism. And this is all based in Nederland, Colorado, from my home. And Mermaid Temple of the Womb has a lot to do with womb and thinking about it as a cocoon and also an actual womb space. So the temple is a saltwater temple, solar powered, really warm water. I infuse it with plant medicines and crystals and vibrations, and we have lots of song and music. And people come into the water for rebirth experiences, healing trauma, getting to know themselves better, and also activating their magic, which is really fun, and I love doing that. And my main thing here right now on this planet is working with plants. So I also have incorporating a lot of herbalism, plant medicines, getting to know yourself through plants, getting to know your own healing processes through plants, and learning to speak to them. And that's kind of what I do every day.
I love it. I love it so much. I know for me personally, herbs and using natural remedies was one of my first portals into healing myself, healing my body. And then I started to learn about how to use the plants to go deeper into like healing the emotions and connecting more to ourselves spiritually as well. And they can be such a powerful tool for healing all the bodies.
Absolutely. There's some plant for no matter what's going on, and usually the same plant, once you get to know it, can be used for so many different ailments or so many different issues it can support you in. One plant can really become like your lifelong best friend and help you through anything, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. Just getting to know just one or two or three plants is really beneficial.
And one thing that I really love about working with nature and nature elements and nature plants as well is there's a way that it's so pure, right? Like we would never I remember willow was one of the herbs that I worked with a lot. And it's like, if you really look at a willow tree, it's so flexible and fluid. And it's like, we would never make it wrong for being what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, willow is so flexible. That is such a good word for that. Yeah, the plants just don't judge, but the thing is about the plants, they do have a sense of humor. And sometimes when we're really sensitive, we can take that the wrong way. But no, it's just all, divine cosmic laughter. But the plants are not judging us, which is that is so pure. And it's something that we really can't find when we go to the doctor's office. It's something that we really can't find. even when we go to the naturopath, like, but when we go out into the forest, we can just be completely naked and raw, and the plants are there to catch us. Graham Hancock, no, not Graham Hancock. What's his name? I'll think of it. He has a quote. Terrence McKenna. He has a quote that says, you go out into the universe and you hurl yourself into the universe only to find out that it's a feather bed. And that's how nature heals us. It's just so gentle all the time. It's amazing.
Yes. So good. So I just want to say a little bit more about this before we go into the topic that we're going to be diving into on this call, which is the Magician Archetype, which I'm super excited to learn more about because I haven't personally explored archetypes that much. So super excited to go there. But I want to just, before we do that, can you just say a little bit more maybe about how you use the flower essences and the plant essences? So like if someone is experiencing, say, disconnect or burnout maybe in their business, or they notice some symptoms, right? So maybe it is like in their physical body, or maybe it's in their emotional body. Maybe they have a goal that they're wanting to work towards and they know that they keep hitting a certain edge. How would you use these plant spirits, this plant energy, to support that?
Absolutely. So it's all about, so what I love about flower essences is that there are really energetic vibrational medicines, but at the same time, they tell the story that the flowers want to tell. And the flowers want to tell different stories to every person, really. So when you go to pick out a flower essence, let's say for burnout, or just getting your energy back into alignment, or just kind of revving up your inspiration, you're going to want to find a flower essence that speaks to you. And it doesn't matter why it's speaking to you. Let's say it's rose. And it's speaking to you because, rose is popular, right? We've heard about roses. Everybody knows what a rose is. And that's a great place to start. That's the thing about flower essences. They don't need to be complicated at all. Just simple. And every flower will offer you something beautiful and something that you can take with you that serves you at that time. Flowers love human connection. They just love it, and they want to connect with you. They want to talk to you. They want to help you out. And one thing that makes your connection with flower essences even deeper and better is asking the flower when you take it also what you can do for it, because flowers are just such a beautiful reflection of us. So, and just Gaia and the earth is a reflection of us. And when we go out into nature, what we find out there is just, it's a mirror, basically. It's a reflection of us. So when we're taking that flower essence, especially somebody that's serving, somebody that's in the service industry, it's like, flower, how can I serve you? It's really just a good idea of how you can be serving yourself with that essence.
I love that. I love that so much. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I want to just invite, the people that are listening. It's like, even if you just kind of like take a moment to take a couple breaths and just feel into the energy that she's bringing forward right now, you can, even just talking about the rose and the flower remedies, you can feel your heart starting to open. Like, I know I can feel the softness and the, even like a little bit of like a playful curiosity, like wanting to come forward.
Right. Nothing is as serious as that will ever make it be.
Yes.
It's never, ever going to be that serious. Flowers love to joke around. They love humor. They are our muses. They are our humors. We're all inspired by them.
Yeah. And so, this leads me to this point, or this conversation around, so, in my community and the ladies watching, lots of them have online businesses, and they are healers and creators and coaches and leaders. And there's this way that we can get, when we are growing our business or when we are focusing on service, we can get into a serious mode, or we can get so focused on wanting to create a thing or wanting to get a result, right? That like we get in our mind.
Productivity, what results? We're type A's. Let's do this.
Totally. And it's like, this is it can be challenging then to drop back into your heart or to connect to even your womb. I recently, this past year, I've done a ton of womb work, and that was actually one of the things we reconnected with, because I got some remedies from you.
Oh, yeah.
But which I totally, like, they have totally been helping me get in my body, so it's like when I notice my lower half, like my sacral chakra or even my legs, when I'm noticing I'm feeling a little spacey, I can use the remedy, and I notice it like brings me back into my body, and it helps me soften back into my heart. And it's like we can do this stuff through mindset work, but having the support, it actually becomes really challenging to do it in mindset work, because then we get in our mind. Is there anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, yes. So all of us in the heart-centered service industries, part of our path here and part of our journey is to really, and also this connects to the magician, is this power tripping. We're just constantly tripping over our power, like ego tripping, just constantly. And that's the point, because we just want to keep getting more heart-centered and more heart-centered and more heart-centered. And when we're in our heart, then we know nothing really matters other than love and compassion. And there's no right way that looks, there's no judgment. There's no right way that looks. So when we just get stuck in our mind, it's like we're abusing ourselves straight up. it's self-abuse being stuck in that mind. And that power trip won't dissipate unless we get another vibration that's stronger than our own magic to come in, which it has to be pure and probably natural, like flower, like that, to come in and just completely revive ourselves, like regulate to a natural wavelength, so we can get out of that power trip and then be able to listen to our intuition, be able to empower ourselves through health, and then have choices and be able to make proper embodied action. And if we aren't embodied, it means that we're not healthy. We really can't serve at all.
Yeah, one of the explorations that I've been really having personally is like, the more embodied we are and the more embodied I can allow my essence to be, and the more I can allow myself to fully embody in my essence and to let myself bring that into the world, it's like the more connected to all of life I am, and the more connected to life force, right? Or to God I also am.
Yeah, it's just there's nothing in the way. There's no barrier. Coming back to our true essence. So that connection is always there. It's not even like we're more connected. It's like, oh, we just got rid of what doesn't need to be there.
Yes.
Oh, here I am. I'm visibility. Oh, here I am.
Totally. And it can be simple. And I think like it's what you're saying is the flower essences can help us remember that it can be simple. It doesn't have to be complicated or.
Yeah, that's what I'm here. I want to talk about the magician archetype and how it can simplify that, because there's so much out there. I mean, magic is a whole other world, right? As we all know. So how do we simplify this whole other world and, traverse our way through it? And I'd love to talk about the magician and break it down into something that works for both masculine and feminine identities, and break it down into something that's just kind of concrete, that we can really work from a physical earth embodied place, so we don't have to get too airy fairy, too heady about it, and we can just be our magical divine selves here on earth, because we're here on earth, you know?
Yes.
So
I love it.
yeah.
So tell us more. Tell us, can you start by just telling us, like, what is this archetype?
For sure. So the magician, a lot of people think a lot of different things about the magician. I would love to talk about what I have learned through my own experience. And the magician is all about bringing magic into our everyday experience and having that magic be a consciousness that we can manipulate at will. Okay. So the magician, for me, I want to break it down into some really easy to talk about categories. And the first thing that magician for me means is empowering through health. We cannot be a magician unless we empower ourselves, and the only way to empower ourselves that is on the light side of manipulation is through health and vitality. You know, we don't want to sift into that darkness or that abuse of power, that abuse of force. We want to stay in those light serving areas, right? I mean, I do. I think a lot of other people do as well. And so we want to empower ourselves through health. And we really have to ask ourselves all the time, is this healthy for me? Or, is this manipulation? And that's an incredibly fine line, the fine line between manipulation and healing. And it is so easy to cross that line on either side and get too far on either extreme. And the magician, it's really important for the magician to be a tightrope walker. Really know when each situation requires a little bit of that side, a little bit on that side, and really sticking to that aligned balance, that health. Because with health, then we have choices. Without health, we don't have any choices. We feel lost. We're like, oh no, like what's going to happen next? We feel depressed, maybe even get paranoid without health. And then as soon as we get our little bit of our health back, we're like, oh, look at all these options I have in front of me. Totally. And, that really helps us like bring our magic forward, because with like magic doesn't work unless we have a place to put it, so totally. We got to have our choice. So where are we going to put it?
Before we go deeper, can you go a little bit deeper into what the manipulation might look like, or what the pure choice of health might look like? Can you give a couple of examples of that so someone could maybe identify it for themselves?
So the thing about this fine tightrope walk of manipulation and healing is there is not an exact formula to guide us on which side we are on. But the thing is we get to know better through our own experience, not through really reading about it. It's kind of through practice. And that's part of, the initiation process of actually being a magician. We got to put ourselves out there. We got to take that risk, and we have to be dedicated to our own healing path and process and our own self-trust. Trust is huge in figuring out if this is manipulation or healing. We have to know that heart center, and we have to be in it. We have to be able to speak that truth when we know it. And we have to have healed ourselves enough and be in enough energetic alignment and know in our heart of hearts what is truly happening in each moment and how easily that can shift. So we have to, it's kind of a constant self-inquiry. What are the present energies? Is there something being suppressed? Is there anybody giving up something that would hurt their well-being? Where is the offering and where is the sacrifice? So it's kind of that constant self-inquiry on our healing journey to figure out, am I manipulating or am I healing? Where am I right now?
Totally. So this could be like when you're actually wanting to work with someone, like say I'm trying to do a healing session for you, or say you're my best friend, right? And I'm trying to like give you an advice or like healing.
Sure. It's so good to look at it in terms of relationships to really understand. Absolutely.
So, there's a way in a relationship, right, where we can start to give, and it's like we're giving because we want to help the other person, but like they might not want it, right? So that could be a type of manipulation.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe
Where's
like
the obligation?
or maybe like even in our business, right? Like maybe I'm going to do this thing and offer this Make a Splash series because I want to get XYZ in return. And like
Mhm.
that could even turn into a manipulation, right?
Yeah. So I think because that can be such a rabbit hole for a service provider, heart-centered service provider, because we always want to make sure we're not hurting someone, right? So I think a great way to check in about that is that the giver and the receiver need to be both having an equal exchange for it to be healing, right? Just like money or anything else. And I like to think of that exchange as a rising. I'm all about the rising. Let's rise in our magic. And so I like to think the giver and the receiver need to both be rising for it to be a healing exchange and not for it to be manipulation.
I love that. I love that so much. And so then if you're trying to help someone who isn't a yes to being helped, both people aren't rising, right? So then it's like, okay, well, there might be a boundary that's being crossed.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Another way to check in and see if we're healthy or not is where our synchronicities are lying. Are we noticing synchronicities? Are they making us feel lost and paranoid? Are they more of omens? Or are they making us feel like, oh, wow, I'm totally on the right path right now. I love this. Something that simple. And everybody being initiated into the magician archetype should definitely get familiar with synchronicities, you know?
I've been seeing 1111, 111, like everywhere, every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm totally into right now. 747, 737, and 1119. We've been seeing numbers basically our whole lives, right? So it's just funny to see how intricate the numbers can really get, and their different patterns and all that jazz. I love it. I used to, everything for me used to be 1133. My partner's life path is an 11 and mine is a 33. And when we came together, it seemed like that number was just creating itself for us everywhere we went. Like every bill we would get would be 1133, even if it didn't add up, it would just work out. And that's magic, right there. And that's how we know that we're in that healthy synchronicities. We're feeling really good, or we're vibing, we're warm, we're sensual, we're having a good time, and we feel good. It's really important.
And so the magician, is this also the archetype that things usually flow to the person?
The magician is actually more about creation. So of course, like when we put something out, things are going to flow right back to us, right? But the magician is not a passive player. It is not a passive player. So the magician, as soon as we have those choices, then we begin to understand free will. And this is where that flow part does come in the free will part. It's like if I flow over here, which is totally an option, or if I flow over here, which is totally an option, how will the web come together? Or which part of the web will I be in? Or what kind of vibrational chords would I play over here, and how would that affect my overall harmony, or whatever we want to think, right? So we can free will ourselves over there, we can free will ourselves over there, and understanding the concept of free will, we understand that something will return to us for sure, no matter what. And we follow those flows, we follow those returns to choose the action. And the action is the big point to the magician. So the action is that fiery energy. The action is the self, where we're able to be empowered enough to have our own choices to choose and empower ourselves through that action piece. And taking responsibility for what we actually do want in the world. And that's, when we take responsibility for our desires, it means that we have a pretty healthy relationship with our ego. And that's huge for the magician. We have to befriending the ego instead of dropping it or trying to kill it.
It's making me think of something that's been happening recently for me and James. well, him probably a little bit more directly, like he's been having this experience more directly, but he, like, say he'll want to go ride his bike and he can be in a battle, right, with his ego about like actually doing the thing. And then if he makes the
Mhm.
choice to go ride his bike, then something magical happens, right? Like energy actually opens up for him.
Yes, this is the next part of the magician, the energy opening up. I want to call it purpose. I want to call that purpose, because with the action choice comes our purpose. Without that, taking that action piece, you don't have a purpose. So when people come and they might ask you, I know that a lot of people ask me all the time, and it's even in a joking way, like they know I can't tell them, but they're like, Eliza, what is my purpose? And they just want me to tell them. And, this formula that we're talking about right now for the magician, the simple way to access it, like helps people get to their purpose like really easily.
Mm.
That just that energy flow, that's the purpose.
Mm.
And with that purpose, which that action choice comes purpose, with purpose flows abundance, right? And as business owners, we all know our connection to abundance and how that helps us live healthier lives. So that comes back around full circle. It's just this big magician cycle. And that's the archetype that I want to talk about, that formula there.
Yeah, I love it. So this really could be broken down on a super simple level.
Mm-hmm.
And then you probably could
Yeah.
use it even on bigger scales, like if you are wanting to offer something or launch something into the world.
Absolutely. It's perfect for launching. Empower. So we empower ourselves through health. And then with health, we have choices. And then with choices, we understand that free will flow and that return. And we follow that synchronicity. We follow that return to choose the action. And with action choice comes purpose. And with
Mm.
purpose flows abundance. It's that if you can remember that simple thing and then just hit those key words and then know how to workshop those key words, baby, you got it. That's it. That's a magician. You're a magician.
Yeah, and it's really also so true, right? I know for myself, the times when I'm not feeling inspired, or maybe I'm wanting to generate money, but I don't have the idea yet, or I'm not sure exactly what I want to do. It's like this
Mm-hmm.
is the process, right?
Absolutely. When I want to generate money, I have to get into, just kind of remove myself, like get into that observer state and look at what's around me. Like, what am I attracting right now? Because as soon as I work through this process, I'm able to help others work through it as well. And
Mm-hmm.
we can't, that's how we offer money. We work, that's how we make money. It's through our offerings, through working through our own things, and then getting to know it through our own wisdom experience, and then offering. And that's exactly what the magician is, that formula we just talked about. We have to do the work.
Yes. And then
Mm-hmm.
so as you are going through this process, say you get to sticky places, or say you get to resistance. Can you talk a little bit about what someone,
Mm-hmm.
like, what would you suggest for someone? Because, I think that there's always the moments of when, we're feeling really good and things are flowing, and then like we can feel like we get to a sticky spot. Or maybe
Absolutely.
for myself personally, sometimes what happens is like when I get tired, then I start to call in all the BS, right? Like, because I'm really great. I'm a really great magician and manifester. And when I'm tired, like I will literally call in the dog pooping on the floor and like shit, like for real.
Yeah, you can call it all the comedy you can possibly hold. Absolutely. So, I definitely want to talk about right away. Spirit was like strength in numbers. Coaching. We need encouragement. We need support. We need those people that are strong in their roots. To help us out. And also we need the people that aren't so strong in their roots so we can, identify with them as well and lift each other up. we rise together, you
Mm.
know? And then also, if we don't really have somebody in our space that can help us out with that in that moment, or, we're just feeling really lonely or really alone, I want to go right back to that nature piece. And the way to work with nature is to get vulnerable with it. So let's say somebody is having a hard time, and so they go out into nature, and they're like, now what? Now what do I do? Here I am, I'm in the trees. Isn't something magical supposed to be happening right now? Everybody says being in nature is great. I don't get it, um, so what we do is, a way to do this is start to make noises, such as a hum or singing, or if you have a rattle or an instrument or any little thing, just starting to make noise and listening for the rhythms around you, so you can actually make a symphony, like a music, with the nature around you. Nature speaks through song, and we can really connect and get our strong-rooted person or our strong-rooted tree right there. We have to give ourselves, like, give a little to get a little. We got to give a little and really be vulnerable. And really, that's when the magic happens. We have to give. We have to give and ask what. Nature also wants us to give and receive.
Yes, I love that. I know for me personally, especially in the early stages of my business, I guess it was around 2015 when I was really in the crunchy place of, I knew something needed to change. I needed to learn to like put myself out in the world, right? And to claim my gifts. And I was feeling super vulnerable. And I live in the swamp. So I'm in Louisiana. So I'm in the swamp. So I would go to this lake and I would sit there, and every single time, I swear, I would leave so humbled, whether it be like a snake crawling up right beside me or an alligator looking at me straight in the eyes or whatever the thing was.
It can even just be as simple as, hearing the bird song.
That
and
too.
actually listening to it. Anything that's simple. Like, I love what you just said, humble. Like, nature humbles you. And that's what we were talking about with the healing first, the manipulation. And also, like, when we're stuck in our head and we don't really know what to do next, like, we need to humble ourselves because we're just tripping. We're power tripping.
Yes.
We just need to get out there and figure out a way that humbles us, and go through some sort of explore journey quest of what humbles me, and have that be a question you ask yourself every day. And then after what humbles me, and you feel yourself being humbled, definitely integrate it with, what would somebody who loves themselves do right now? So we can just give ourselves that love back and refill our cup up, and make sure that we're not just, going out there humbling, without any sort of grounding put in place. But yeah, I love that. Love it.
Yeah, and I can feel where, some of the ladies listening who are more of like the action takers and the doers and like wanting to do some things, like, okay, well, if I'm sitting here humble, like, how is the thing going to come to me? Or
Yeah, so how do we take a break from productivity, or how does productivity, become really healthy for us? Like, if some people are just really productive, let's say that they don't have the disease of our society's productivity, but they're just built that way. They're just wired that way. So it's basically just doing healthy choices, right? To just make sure that productivity is coming from a heart-centered place. Just like sitting there and putting your hands over your heart, taking a break, and then being like, okay, I'm right back at it. I get centered in my heart space. Here I am, ready to go. But I mean, the thing about productivity is that rest is productive. It is so productive. How do you rest when you're a productive person, Lindsay? What do you do to take a break or rest?
so really for me, the past 2 weeks, I've been in deep rest. And last week, I I just finished launching a class and some one-on-one spots. And so I knew that I needed to rest, right? Because I had this fruitful month. And even if we do look at nature for our guide, right? Nature produces and then it rests. After the harvest, it rests. It doesn't keep producing and producing and producing. And so I made it a point to actually take a week off. And I just did whatever I needed, right? So some days I went for walks, went for a swim. Some days I did nothing. Some days I laid in the sun. It really, and that's usually challenging for me to do, like to take that much space, but I really felt I needed it. And like I said, I'm still in rest. I'm still not back to really wanting to produce or wanting to put out a ton of energy.
Yeah, I just want to hang out right now. I just
Yeah.
want to chill, with my loved ones and dance and express.
Do you
This
want to?
fiery energy.
Yeah, like I know whenever we were having the conversation via Facebook, like I was kind of feeling this as part of our conversation. So I don't know if you want to speak to it, but using nature also, or using our seasons, or I mean, I don't know if you want to say astrology, but using it as a guide to also guide our rhythm.
Yes. Well, it's basically like we're going against the flow when we aren't in flow with, nature's natural rhythm. And it's really easy to get sick when we're not in flow with nature's natural rhythm. And how we can check out and see what nature is up to is actually really easy to look up, a sort of, what does winter mean? What does spring mean online? We can look up all of those things, but another way is to just kind of look around outside and identify like what's going on out there. Like, is it really hot today? Is it making me tired because it's hot? Well, then, you know what? I think I'm just going to rest. And while that's really hard for productive people and for people that are working in productive societies and they need to show up or else, they're not part of that society anymore. While that is really hard, you can always shift the way you're being productive or the meeting. So let's say it's like really hot outside and you can't exert any more energy. You just kind of got to be in it. You just kind of got to float among that heat wave. So you can shift whatever meeting you're in and you can be that leader and kind of shift like the whole energy of the whole group. And that's an amazing thing to do. You can put yourself forward to be that leader and be like, hey, let's maybe take our shoes off and sit in the grass and feel the breeze under a tree. Mm-hmm. Let's get out of this, building right now and go sit right here and just kind of relax while we talk. And the thing Spirit loves to see is when people are enjoying their productivity. Mm-hmm. That's the point. Like, we can be productive, but we have to be enjoying it to be healthy. And how do we enjoy this productivity? Look around outside, see what nature is up to, and match it, because chances are that you're going to enjoy whatever the natural rhythm is as well. Getting out of that fight and flight.
Love that. So can you go a little bit deeper into bringing joy into your productivity and into your work? Because I think that this is so important, right? It's like we can go about, for me, this summer series, that was one of my intentions, right? I was feeling hot and I'm feeling like I don't really want to do a ton of work. I don't know if I want to show up in my Facebook group every single day this summer, right? I might want to lay in the sun, or I might want to go swim or do nothing. So this feels really fun and easy, right? It feels flowy just to be able to have these conversations. So, and I've also done it the other way where I am like pushing myself to show up and I'm pushing to, get things done, to send out an email, to do the thing. So how can we bring more joy into our daily process and into our flow while we're still being productive?
Well, the thing is, productivity, it only looks, or only goes as fast as like the society around it. So if we are that person to say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to detach here. And then we give ourselves room to do so. And we give other people room to do so too. Like say that we have a meeting with someone and be like, hey, how are you feeling today? I'm feeling like we could postpone this if you think that too. We don't have to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's always okay to be that person to jump in and be like, hey, I'd like to detach and release a little control here. Are you up for losing some perfectionism with me today? Or where are you at? We can check in.
Mm-hmm.
We can check in and we can be really, to the point about it, because probably the person on the other side is like, thank you. Thank you so much. Because, we all kind of feel the same thing. We're all humans here on the same planet, feeling and doing the same feels. So we just have to trust and have faith that we're not the only one feeling this way. Because chances are other people want space and other people want room to like refresh.
Mm-hmm.
And also to enjoy our productivity, we need to really check in with where we're being a people pleaser and where we're not,
Yeah.
Yeah, just taking responsibility for ourselves and knowing that that's the only thing that matters for our health. Because if we don't take responsibility, we don't have our health, our productivity basically just is powerless and even becomes an abuse of power.
I really love that you said that, because I know for myself, that's been edges that I constantly have to check in with. And when I get to that place of, something not fueling me anymore, when I start to notice like, oh, this is actually taking more energy from me. It's not like the exchange isn't equal, right? So like, say I am sharing in my group every day and I'm noticing like I'm feeling heavy around having to share. Then I can start to check in and come back to that. Am I people pleasing? Am I compromising a part of me to make them more comfortable? Right? And like just going back to your archetype, the process that you gave, I know for myself, if then I make the choice to take my power back in those situations and maybe share something a little bit more risky or bold or whatever, then it's like, whew, the energy comes back, right?
All about that risk. Totally. That magician is all about that risk. It's all about that fire. It's all about that being bold, get your kitty in. Go get out there. Yeah, we're both cat people, by the way, Lindsay and I.
Oh yeah.
Love our cats.
My
cats help us out.
are always teaching me. Always, always, always. I have 3, and then we have a stray, so really 4.
Yes, I have 3 cats too. Yeah, productivity loses its power, when it becomes hostile. There's just no point in it at all. It becomes like the word abuse can be risky. It can be triggering for some, but I want to use it because I think we need to recognize when we're hurting ourselves, and when
it can be
there
an
are
addiction too, right? Like where we're actually using it as a suppression. So it's like we don't want to feel something that's actually happening within ourselves. So then we're choosing an action to suppress the feeling.
Yeah, choosing the action to suppress the feeling is to avoid being connected, is to avoid being in our divinity. And divinity can be pretty scary, but if we have our health, then we are literally golden. As above, so below.
Yes.
Yeah. How are you feeling in the convo? Feels good. It feels like it's completed.
Yes. Is there any last things that you want to share with our listeners?
I could pull a card.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Okay. That'll be fun. Yeah. I just like to have fun. Let's have some fun. Hey, Spirit. Ooh. We got the Hanged one, and that's all about surrender. Clean up of the ego, as we were talking about, and whatever the ego thought it wanted. So in that productivity, whatever you think you want when you're not feeling good, this card says just give it up. It could be a difficult energy that you're giving up, but it's really crucial that we learn how to surrender and let go and allow ourselves to be compassionate and accept ourselves for right where we are, and to not push, and just be willing and not judge how the letting go is going, but just to let it go,
Yeah.
And then as it's being let go, we can follow that. We can follow that letting go process, see what's happening in nature around us. We can look for our synchronicities. We can look for those coincidences and, follow that direction of spirit to get back on, where that horse, that chariot, that spirit's leading us to.
And is this part of the magician as well? Because I know sometimes, we, especially in business, we can go towards something. Say we want something. We want a certain amount of clients, or we're filling a group program and we want, to fill it or whatever. And say we don't, we need to surrender, right? We need to surrender to our goal. So if we don't get there, like there is a point of surrender to that. And then sometimes there's actually something better. So
Absolutely.
is that part of this archetype?
Absolutely. Yeah. This magician always knows that there's room for improvement. Always. And that's just kind of how spirit likes to bring us. Spirit does, we do travel in cycles. We do travel in spirals. But that spiral is the direction of spirit, and how we're moving for our own pattern purposes, and that just gets us steeper and clearer and more aligned. And it's usually improvements. Absolutely. We give up our small wishes for something deeper, or something higher, or something more aligned, and that's how we experience unconditional love.
Yes. Coming back to the heart.
Yep. Always. That's why I love talking with you, Lindsay. We're both very heart-centered.
Yes. I just had a call before this, actually, and it was for the program that I'm in that's coming to an end. And she invited us each to feel into a longing, something we really, really long for and desire. And then she did a little coaching segment for each of us on it. And the thing that came forward for me is to surrender even deeper into my heart.
Oh, beautiful.
My longing.
That is I love it. Oh, goddess. I love it.
Yes. So that is my practice that I'm walking, as a heart translator and heart seer.
I'm going to adopt that one as well today when I go home. I have a one-on-one client staying with me for a week for a deep healing mentorship. That's the first thing I'm going to say. We're going to both love that tonight.
Yeah, so good. So if anyone is wanting to connect with you or learn more about your work, if they're in the Colorado area and they're wanting to come see you, can you tell them how they can do that?
I can also come see them. I love traveling and doing homestays and, just making life a ceremony anywhere. Yeah, we have lots of options. You can go to riseshinelove.com. Check me out there. I also have a Facebook group. It's pretty easy to reach me on Facebook because I'm doing a lot of traveling where I don't have cell signal, but I do have Wi-Fi. So it's Rise and Shine with Eliza, or you can find me also on Facebook is Eliza Sparkle Stephen. It's easy to find that sparkle in there.
Beautiful. And if any of you are wanting to join in this conversation, if this conversation has gotten some things moving for you, please come share with us in the Soul Inspired Success community. Let us know what's moving through you. And like I've mentioned in the other series, my intention is that as you are listening to these conversations, they will activate things in you. So it's not just, something for you to listen to, but it's also an energetic activation. So you may notice some of this magician energy coming forward for you. So if that happens for you as you go about life after listening, come share with us in the Soul Inspired Success community. And if you have questions, you can ask them there as well.